If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I can get a little bit wound up with politics, especially when politicians demonstrably lie. Now this morning, this came through my door. Good old Charlie Elphrick. What's he been doing for Dover? The autumn issue, amazing. Delivering for Dover and Deal, getting things done. I'm pretty sure this is the first one that's ever turned up at this flat, and I've been here for over a year now. Local MP Charlie Elphrick and the Dover and Deal action team are working hard to deliver for our area. If the weather was nicer, I'd do a little walking video around Dover. But it's pouring down with rain, and I'm pretty sure my camera's not waterproof. Getting on with Brexit. People voted to leave 3 years ago. Labour and the Lib Dems are trying to cancel the referendum and stay in the EU. Charlie is backing Boris Johnson's efforts to get on with it. Okay, so here's the thing. Getting on with it is not clear cut. It's actually another bullshit statement. Getting on with it, finishing this first process leads to years of negotiations to leave with a deal. If we don't leave with a deal, we've shit the bed, basically. And I've said this before. If you don't know the ins and outs of politics, and I'm not pretending that I know everything, but that's fine, because it's not your job to know that. That's why we elect officials, so that they can dedicate their whole time to learning these processes, to essentially to learn what's best on a political spectrum. Anyone who sides with Boris Johnson is not doing what's best for the country. That 1 or 2 pages that he put out, that's not just 1 or 2 pages. That has references to thousands of other legal documents that go on for hundreds and hundreds of pages. There is way more to it. And already Caroline Lucas found a loophole in one of the things that Bojo's proposal references that will lead to a no deal, which will be devastating. We elected and have been keeping in power for 9 years now Charlie Elphrick to represent Dover Deal surrounded areas. Charlie Elphrick should know how important Dover Port is, and should know that it can only function with frictionless trade, which is only possible with close workings with the EU. So even if you want to leave based on a number of people who voted to leave in this area, which I believe was a fair few, you'd still push for a deal like every Brexit politician at the time was pushing for. Otherwise, it will cripple Dover. Support... Christ almighty. Honestly, this is all written on here. Supporting our NHS. Charlie Elphrick has voted to defund the NHS numerous times. A new hospital for Dover. Deal Hospital safeguarded. And our first ever medical school on the way. Record investment has been agreed with East Kent's major hospitals in line for £350 million upgrades. This ties in, I remember, this ties into what Bojo promised, and the reality is that we'll actually be getting 4 hospitals, not even 4 hospitals, it will be 4 renovations to 4 hospitals around the UK. But okay, the hospital in Dover. That's actually a good point, because the hospital we have in Dover is this almost new building now. It's been up for a few years, but it's this great massive building that's got everything. Here's the problem. Because Conservative politicians, and I do specifically mean Charlie Elphrick, has voted to defund the NHS and defund hospitals so regularly, most of Dover Hospital isn't working. It's not open. There's no A&E in Dover. I live in Dover. I live very close to the hospital. If I get hit by a car when I step outside my home, I'm not going to Dover Hospital. I'm going to Canterbury or to Margate, which is a fair old whack away. So that's an outright lie. Improving our schools. Jesus Christ, are you serious? Some 27 local schools have improved Ofsted ratings since 2002. Charlie also fought for a new funding deal that will see our pupils get 7.2 extra percent, meaning millions more for years to come. I'm going to leave a link down below because it's a fantastic website. I brought it up before. Theyworkforyou.com or theyworkforus.com. It shows, because a politician's voting records in Parliament is public knowledge. So it shows everything they've ever voted for. I'm going to specifically leave a link to Charlie Elphrick because he has voted against funding schools, funding education. He also, I believe it was this year, voted to take more school meals away from children from low-income families. So, fuck you, Charlie. Keeping our streets safe and secure. Oh, Jesus Christ. Charlie lobbied ministers to secure Kent policing a £23.6 million cash increase. An 8.1% boost. It's led to the recruitment drive of 380 new officers who are being trained and will be on the beat soon. Okay. I'm going to give that one to him. I have nothing that says that's bullshit. Considering I've just read 3 previous lies or mistruths. I'll have to give that one to him because I've got nothing on there. I do find it difficult to believe. I don't remember off the top of my head if Charlie has voted to cut funding, but given that he is a typical Tory and that's typical Tory voting measures, I'm going to say he has. But again, got to give that one to him because I can't remember off the top of my head if that's right or wrong. Working with Boris to deliver Brexit. Again, if you're working with Boris Johnson, you're anti-British. That's really how it comes down to. Even Boris Johnson's deal, even if you take it at face value and pretend all that nasty stuff, all those loopholes he'll use to screw you aren't there, it destroys the UK. Because it kicks Northern Ireland to the curb. Now, I know that most Brexiteers don't really care about Northern Ireland, but that's part of the UK. The United Kingdom of Great Britain, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Well, we've just lost Northern Ireland, so now we're England, Scotland and Wales, and Scotland will most likely, as I've said before, Scotland will most likely use this for a win of independence, a vote of independence. If they get that, we're Wales and England. Okay. So yeah, Boris is destroying the UK and Charlie's right along with him. Good old Charlie. Looking after every person. Are you shitting me? Charlie went above and beyond to help us when we needed it. Claire was about to have her care funding taken away. Not only did he work vigorously so that didn't happen, he also ensured ministers changed national guidelines so that no one else could get into the same situation. Okay, now this is a woman, I would assume she's in an LD home, which is the kind of care work I do now. Care work is incredibly difficult. Our hands are tied in a ton of different ways that make no sense, but it's legal, so we do the best we can. Despite the fact the amount of abuse that carers suffer and the amount of abuse that we get from the companies themselves. Charlie Elphrick has voted to defund health and social care along with defunding the NHS. So the fact that he sticks his neck out, and again, I'm assuming that this story is true. The fact that he helped one person isn't good enough when his voting record has put thousands upon thousands of people in jeopardy. And by supporting Boris Johnson's deal, which will sell off the NHS, he's fucked everyone. Because the NHS and social care is the same thing now. It's part of the same thing. It's both led by Matt Hancock. They'll both be on the chopping block. So he's... essentially what he's done, to use a very bad analogy, someone's fallen over, cut their leg, and they've got an infection. Charlie has stopped the bleeding by putting mud with worms on the mould, worms on the wound. It's not a long-term fix, and again, that mud is not going to help the infection at all. It's just going to stop the bleeding. He's not called an ambulance. He's not taking the injured person to the hospital. He's just stuck mud on a wound. Caring about mental illness, same as before. Working for the community. Charlie Elphrick is a genuine community man who really cares about the people and projects in Deal and Dover. For many years, he has been a great supporter to me at Heartstart, both with our fundraising efforts and now proactively helping with life-saving projects like the Alfred Square Red phone box. Public access. I can't keep reading this, my God. So it's quite interesting with most of these photos. Charlie is with women or with Boris Johnson. I mean, I'm not saying he is a rapist. I am. But what I am saying is that after over a year and a half of being investigated by the police, he was charged for sexual assault, 3 counts of sexual assault on 2 people. So it seems like, and again, I live in Dover. I've lived in Dover for years. I've lived in Deal for years. I've never seen this little scrope walk about. I really have nothing good to say about him at all. Safeguarding hospitals. You defunded Dover, so that it's practically a doctor's office, but without all of the features that my doctor's has. Deal Hospital, I honestly don't know. I haven't been there in years, thankfully. For what I remember, it had a physio department, it had x-ray department. But again, I haven't been there in years, so I don't know. And I don't know if it's barely clinging on to life. Charlie is working tirelessly to make sure we leave the EU and move on, because we all know our best days are yet to come. Oh, okay. I've done a ton of things, so I'm not going to rant on for too long. But here's the thing. We're top dog in the EU. France, Germany and us. We are top dog. No one tells us what to do. No one. Our best days are yet to come is bullshit if we're leaving the EU. Especially if we're leaving the EU with Boris Johnson's deal. It is a soundbite. It is a way of tricking people into getting that patriotic nostalgia for Britain's excellence and imperialism. Well, here's the thing, the world's moved on. And Charlie will not only send us back decades, but sending us back decades with Bojo's deal that will sell off everything to the Americans. Now, I tweeted Charlie Elphrick when I first noticed this come from my door, but Charlie Elphrick's blocked me. I'm assuming he doesn't like people calling him out on his bullshit. So if you fancy it, share this video on Charlie Elphrick's page. I'll link it down below. And of course, while you're on Twitter, you can always follow me, Bam Gibson 30. Mostly I'm on Instagram with food porn and things like that, but hey ho. I just want to end this video with a nice little note. I said in a recent video, if a politician is found to be lying, then they should have a year's salary taken away from them. I think that's worth looking into, because Charlie Elphrick has lied, and there's no legal ramifications for a politician who does lie. So Esther McVeigh, the architect of Universal Credits, Ian Duncan Smith, the man who set the foundation for it, Amber Rudd, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, who through his lies had a British citizen thrown in an Iranian prison and then doubled down on his goddamn lies. Charlie Elphrick, Michael Gove, Sajid Davis. These are all people who have told demonstrable, blatant lies. But because they're politicians, they get away with it. No. I think if you're found to be lying, you should have a year's salary taken away from you. No ifs, ands or buts. Definitely think that's the way forward.